Okay, so now we're okay, sorry, it wasn't going yet. So we're checking for her elevated side hip seated because sometimes there is a disparagement between the standing high hip and the seated high hip, which can be due to leg length discrepancy either in the bones or more often than not, the QL is just really, really contracted on somebody. So again, we really just palpate the top of the iliac crest here. And so seated, she's actually tight on both sides here, and she does not have an elevation presenting though. So that high elevation we saw on the left is really not there. Another thing that can happen is sometimes when you start paying attention to this part of the body that feels like it's been a little ignored or needed some love, it can just begin to release naturally, like we're palpating, we're recognizing trigger points. So sometimes the body starts unwinding itself already. So that can be what's happening. Also, it's just really common that people are using a whole lot different effort standing than they are seated. So that's probably what we're seeing here because again, there's definitely some tension in those QLs on both sides. Yeah, she can feel it. So that's the other thing to keep in mind, like palpation, it's really important for you to get good information. And I like to tell people, like, this is the most painful part of the work. Most people like it because they're recognizing, like, they're getting to be like, yes, that's where it hurts, that's where it's messed up. But just being mindful of how deep you're going because you are digging into tender trigger point areas a lot of the time. So anyways, she doesn't have an elevation seated, and so we are going to move on to some corrections.